All right, welcome into this week's episode of Defuzed, where we talk about gaming, streaming, and things around those spaces. This week, we're going to take a look at streaming tech and what you need to get started as a streamer, what's nice to have, and where you should put your priorities if you want to get into the streaming space as far as the tech you buy that supports your stream. Joining us this week is Cortenyde, DannyValz, and SomethingBarbaric. Welcome in, guys. How's everyone doing?
It's a fine day, my friend.
I don't know if you know, but I just struck a pose because I'm cool like that.
You are. You're too cool for school.
And I followed in Court's footsteps, of course.
Yes.
Just dabbing in the background there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. The way I want to start it out is, what is y'all's absolutely must-have tech? Like, this is the one thing that I got that I can't live without. I have to have it in order to put on the show that I put on. Court, you want to kick that one off?
It's one word, baby. Microphone. Like,
I mean,
decent microphone. Like, you can be a faceless streamer. You can be on camera. For me, I won't watch a stream if it's just gameplay with no audio. Even if there's a camera and that person is sat back, silent, sniffing every couple of minutes, I want to engage with the streamer, or at least I want to see that the streamer is engaging. And I don't really care if they're a VTuber or a faceless streamer, or if they do have a camera, but I want to be able to kind of like converse with them or have them create content, because that's what it is. It's an audible content, right?
Right.
And I think my answer goes twofold. One, it's necessary to have a mic, but two, the best mic that you can afford. That doesn't mean it has to be a good mic or like a top end mic, just a decent mic or a microphone that you can put filters on that will be able to transmit that sound and make it sound nice. OBS has so many built-in tools and plugins that you can get. There are free plugins like Voice Meter Banana, or there may be, if you have a certain mic, like Blue Yeti, that comes with its own software, or what I'm using, which is Shure, all has software to make it sound a little bit sweeter. That is the must-have. My mic broke. That Yeti broke. The PCB button out on it, like, stopped working. It might have been a corrosion thing, but they did send me a new one. I sold it, and then I got this one. That was about 116. This was a little bit more because I'd been doing it for a while and I saw that investment. But I didn't want to stream with this microphone here on my headset. I wanted to have, a decent output for my streams. I didn't care if the camera would have gone. I could use a webcam on my phone, but having crisp audio for me is more important than having a camera, a higher bit rate. And so I bought even a £40 mic, which was the HyperX Solo Cast, which is a £40 mic, and that sounded great. And so I think it doesn't necessarily need to be an expensive mic, but the one that you can afford, which outputs will give you the best output, or just a mic in general. It's simple, but that's my answer.
Yep. So I think, like, there's no burying the lead on this one. If I go around the horn, I'm willing to bet we're all going to go the same way with this one. And obviously, I would go mic as well. But the things I want to point out as we go into the microphone segment, because obviously that's kind of what this question was a setup for, is two statistics, and they're not really statistics. All statistics are made up, but two statements that I've seen thrown out there through polling done by people like Stream Scheme or some of the other popular like Twitch advice channels. DannyValz hasn't covered it yet. But one is, a majority of viewers are more likely to put up with bad video than they are bad audio. If something is abrasive in the audio field, people aren't going to put up with it. It's just human nature. People are turned off so quickly by bad audio, where bad video, your eyes and your brain kind of play tricks on you, make up for it a little bit, but you can have an enjoyable experience just listening to people as opposed to having to have something flashing for your eyes. And the second one is here on Twitch, you probably get, if you ask an average viewer, 30 seconds to maybe on the high end, 45 seconds to get a viewer engaged and pull them in to what's going on in your stream. And there's almost no way to do that if you are not saying something, or you can't be heard, or give them something unique in the way of outside of what you're playing. So the microphone is going to be your number one tool to do that. It's very important. Danny, I don't know if you agree that that's the number one must have, but here's your chance to tell us we're all wrong.
No, I actually do agree. That was one of the things I mentioned in a recent YouTube video. Shameless self plug. How, you know, a lot of people. Oh, someone's following me. Thank you, whoever you are. A lot of people they'll kind of put on a stream as like background entertainment, and if you don't have a microphone, you're then not capturing that person. I mean, I've done it myself with streams. I've got a few friends up in a different tab whilst I'm, you know, coding a thing or working on work stuff, and then I hear like, oh my god, did you see that? And I quickly look over and I get engaged with the content all over again. For people who don't have a microphone, you just lose out on such an audience. And, you know, growth as a small streamer on Twitch or YouTube or Kick or whatever, it's so hard. So, you know, you want to give yourself every opportunity you have to capture people's attention and you know, give them something to entertain them. Absolutely.
The growth is hard. I think Twitch has a very size and viewer focused like atmosphere and environment. The more numbers you have, the more people want to join, because obviously if all those people are there, they're all having a good time. So a stream is inherently more entertaining if you have more people, which isn't always true. There's a lot of streamers that are constantly talking, constantly engaging, they're doing stuff, but they don't get noticed as much because, you know, they have a lower view count, and Twitch has a very much that kind of centered atmosphere or culture, which, I mean, isn't inherently wrong. It just does stifle and make it really hard to grow. Barbaric, I feel like you just got a brand new microphone because of this exact point. You wanted your quality to be at that level.
Yeah, well, I mean, I listen to my own VODs back and make sure that everything's quality every time. It sucks, but I do it pretty much every stream still. And so I hated listening to my own voice because it was just on the absolute worst mic ever, even though it was supposed to be a pretty nice one. So I was like, screw this. And I went and got a beacon mic. And yeah, it's got the best mixer that's ever existed, and I could not recommend it.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard nothing about but great things about like the beacon just because of its software and what it offers you. I run the Elgato.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of people that run the, oh my god, XLR, where you have to do the plugs and have all this supporting equipment, but there's a lot of really good options in the range for USB, and I think yours is definitely up there.
I think it's important as well not to, sorry to cut you off there, Barbaric, but it's not just about the microphone you have. As Cortenyde says, you do not need to spend big bucks on a microphone. You don't need to buy something that's way out of budget. Like, just getting something that is a dedicated microphone, not just a headset mic, makes a huge difference. But also your space around you, just cutting out on echoes. Like, if you can put up a blanket, or, you know, add some carpet or a rug, just like dampen out any echoes, which is something I've been meaning to do for a long time. But
Shelving.
yeah, being able to like make yourself sound better, you don't necessarily need a microphone to do that. A few filters, some thick curtains, a blanket nearby, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even a pop filter, you know, if your mic doesn't come with an existing pop filter, you can get universal ones that'll fit over the head of your mic. Doesn't necessarily need to be like a pop filter that you get when you sing, which keeps your mouth at a distance and stops any kind of like protrusions getting into the mic or hard P's, but like I think Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie called it a spoffle, so that's what I call it. But the little the foam thing on the end of your mic, you know, just a little pop filter that can help to diminish any harsh sounds, any breathing, because who likes breathing? What the sound of breathing?
I mean, everyone likes breathing.
Yeah, I'm a fan personally.
No, I don't really like it. I wish I didn't have to do it. It causes slow oxidation throughout my body.
Well, I mean, statistically, the people who breathe the most live for the longest. So
True. I'm just saying I wish it wasn't required.
Fake news.
But yeah, I think the overall point with all of that is there's like this baseline, and there's a baseline for everything within your production quality when you're talking about like this tech, whether you have like a camera or you're a faceless streamer, a VTuber, whatever. There's a baseline. The baseline for microphone is higher than I think any other piece of technology that you're going to have to get, but it's still not as high as you would think it would be. So like headset microphones in the gaming space are extremely popular, but they're not known for giving the clear, crisp sound that you would want to broadcast. But like Danny said, you throw some filters on, you tweak the way that's delivered or run through the software that you use to present your content, then
you can
it
do
can
that
even out.
Directly in OBS with just your headset. Like when I was using a crappy headset microphone, I still did just use a lot of filters and it sounded okay. Like it wasn't
there's like YouTube tutorials and stuff as well. Like if you don't know what you're doing, because audio mixing is a huge can of worms. But like if you don't know what you're doing, YouTube, I'm sure there's somebody with your microphone who's come up with some sort of guide to like how to make it sound amazing. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to get good results.
Yep.
Yeah.
So watch at least 3 or 4 videos so you can filter out, you know, the bad ones, since YouTube removed the dislike button.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
You've made it really, really hard to filter bad advice, YouTube. Thanks. Doing great work.
You know, YouTube is a whole, God, that's a whole nother episode if I'm going to be honest.
At least 2.
It might be coming up next week. Twitch versus YouTube. But
No.
no.
I stream exclusively on Discord. You have to join my server.
Yes. Discoverability is really hard, but
You have to mail me any pocket change, otherwise I won't give you the password. That's how I do payments.
snail mail and Discord. All right. Yeah, so I mean, the whole point of this segment was the intro is the fact that the barrier to entry for streaming is a lot lower than people think. You can take the time and effort, and as long as you have audio, and all of us agree, audio is the only thing you need, you can get started. Now, everything after that is moving on to the nice to haves. And again, even with the nice to haves, you're going to have this baseline level of gear where, like, I've just upgraded to the 3rd camera I've used on my stream in the year and some change that I've been streaming. I went from a really cheap Allura Link webcam, which was really nice, but didn't do all of the features that I wanted as far as like controlling my framing. The zoom in was all digital instead of being able to do it through a lens. Then I moved to the NEX3, which was a great camera. Loved the picture, but those that have been around my channel a while are all familiar with the scuffed stripey face because it had a standby mode that I couldn't turn off, and sometimes I forgot to hit the button every once in a while. And then I moved into the Sony VZ10, which is still, as far as a mirrorless camera goes, on the cheaper end, but like the quality is really good. It has all the features I want. I don't even need to have a capture card because it has USB-C direct capture on it, which is a nice thing to have. So like you can go through all these cameras, all of them work well, but you still have people like Barbaric that are a faceless streamer, and you have VTubers. But when it comes to cameras, I think the question I want to ask is not, do you need a camera or what's the best camera on the market? Because there's so many options, but what are your guys' like base level bare minimum features that gives you that minimum level of content delivery that you expect in your stream. So I'm looking at a camera. What's the 1 or 2 features that you think I have to have in that camera?
So I'm actually going to answer your question by not answering your question. What I would say is actually more important than a camera. You can have like some $20 Walmart camera if you want to. If your lighting is bad, you're going to look awful. Just as a comparison,
Well,
lights on, lights off. That's night and day to use a
for those that are
expression.
watching as a podcast. It's
Yeah,
a huge
for the audio
difference.
listeners. But no, I
It's
think,
available on audio only, but there is lighting's a massive thing.
no, it's
And-
huge. I mean, even if you don't have, if you don't have room for a key light or don't have the money for a key light, absolutely fine. You can. I mean, when I first started out streaming, sometimes I would take my phone's torch, point at me just to illuminate the face a bit, or on my second screen,
Right.
or some spare like monitor real estate, just have it all white. So it gives you some kind of illumination, and it makes a huge difference, like to the perceived quality. Like the bit rate might be low, you might be 30 frames a second, 20 frames a second, but you're clear, you're visible, and it makes things look so much better.
I feel like when you're looking at Twitch, because that's the one downside of, so with the camera I have now, I use the USB-C capture instead of using the old capture card that I have, because it kind of got fuckered and it's really close to breaking. But I'm limited to 720 on my output for my camera. But because of my bit rate, you can't really tell. Like on Twitch, the camera's usually pretty small in the corner, or during the just chatting scene, it's a little bit bigger. But the quality differences between like 720, 1080 for your face cam, not a massive difference. Ease of use wise, though, like that USB-C is amazing. And realistically, when I was looking for this new camera, only thing I really cared about was the fact that it had clean HDMI out, and that I use USB-C, but clean output, and that it didn't have a standby or I could turn off the standby, because that was the issue I was facing. And outside of that, everything starts to become kind of like a nicety, because the old camera didn't have clean HDMI out either, but I was able to crop out all of the side frame stuff as required. But
Now, can I ask, do you use a dummy battery, or are you just like, does USB-C power the camera?
so the USB-C can charge the camera, but I do have a dummy battery, just because it was the same battery that I used for the NEX3. So I already had the dummy battery, but you can use the USB-C to charge the camera. So Court, what's the feature you're looking for in a camera?
It's difficult to say. I think with cameras in general, it's such a use basis, right? So an individual basis, which makes it a little bit difficult, because the way I answer the question is when I first started, because the answer would be I don't really know, or now, which actually I do have answers for them, but I'm being a bit pedantic.
Well, I mean, I feel like we're trying to give these people a shortcut to information, because we've all learned the hard way.
So Danny kind of hit the nail on the head with lighting. Lighting is more important than anything. So even if you have even if you have like a phone camera or a cheaper camera off Amazon, for example, that makes a difference straight off the bat. And I would add on to that, having contrast. So like Danny and myself have lights behind us. You have a white background behind you. There's adding a contrast. So I like to have mine quite dark and cozy. That's the kind of vibe that I like my cameras to be set up. Hides my kind of indiscretions. But if I was to turn off those lights behind me, it would look very flat. So that's how much lighting can play a part in it. In terms of the camera itself, I'm running the A6000 here, which is a mirrorless Sony camera. It's kind of a mid-range mirrorless. Right? And then, sorry, I've got to move Monty. And then here,
small flex.
I've got the Elgato face cam, which is just the 1080p version. It shouldn't be this color. I think I've done something in the settings. But the one thing that I would say is, when I first started streaming, I wanted a 1080p camera because 720, we are well past the point of having only 720p, because even if, yes, you do have that bit rate degradation, it's still, even if it's outputting at that, you're still putting in at 1080, so the degradation is going to be kind of alongside of it. That was one thing. And the other thing was having exposure control. Because, well, for me, it was exposure control, 1080, and a decent color profile, which if you pay a certain amount of money for a webcam, you're going to get it. So my base webcam, and I think it's probably the same advice that everyone gives, is if you can buy a webcam and you want the kind of the best and the cheapest, but still the best for that money, would probably be the Logitech C920 or variant of that. Because yes, it doesn't have certain features that the Facecam does, even though the Facecam isn't that much more, but it's still not cheap. So I think it's over about 130, but it's going to be much cheaper than getting a mirrorless like this, which is, it was 300 for the camera and then the equal for, because I mean, you could probably pay like 100 for the capture card. Mine was a little bit more because it's 4 capture cards and one inside the PC. But what I'm saying is, instead of going for that cost, something that is going to do you well, if you wanted to upgrade from your phone, is something like the Logitech C920, which also has inbuilt software where you can control it. That makes a huge difference. Because, cheaper webcams, they'll blow. Like, the reason I say exposure control is the color and the color profiles is it will blow out certain parts of your face. It's very hard to get lighting correct without it going blue or purple. So I think the Logitech C920 is around 60 to 80 pounds.
It's often on sale. I'd say don't pay full price for it. But it's every streamer's first camera, which I love. Yeah, because it's it's a testament to how reliable and how affordable. It's a good price to performance ratio. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah,
that's there I go. Control. There I go, going against Danny again. My first one was the Allura Link, which was like a $30 Best Buy, just whatever. And it worked very well for, I mean, the price. At the time, it was just, how do I get into streaming at the lowest level possible? And, that's what a lot of people should be looking at for, I think, a lot of this. Because, again, you have your baseline, and as you grow and want to up your quality, you can do that, but you don't have to break the bank and to get into it. And lighting is a massive thing. I agree completely. I watched a lot of videos on lighting before I even got into it. I ended up going with a very expensive lighting option, the Elgato Key light, but that is because I have other Elgato products, and it's kind of like that whole suite of access thing.
Ecosystem, yeah.
But a lot of the videos out there will say you have to have 2 lights. Once you get into lighting, you have to have 2 lights. I don't. I have 1. And I kind of go off of my stream room has a decent amount. Well, I say stream room. I live in an RV. My kitchen, living room, stream area, because everything in an RV is one room, has a good amount of natural light. And then I reflect the light off of a white roof back down onto me. So I have shading that kind of gives me that depth of face and everything. So like, there's a lot of videos out there that can give you a lot of tips and tricks on how to kind of alter your lighting. So if you don't like a light directly in your face, which I absolutely hate, I get migraines. It's part of the whole TBI process. I don't have a light directly in my face, but I have good lighting. And I didn't get 2, but I found a way to make 1 work to give me a different view and depth. So like, there's even ways to do lighting in a cheaper way than going full out. There's so much resources out there that give you so many details about all of this.
I mean, I think I only have 1 now, which is the key light, which was lovingly given me by my good lady wife for Christmas. Prior to that, like, I'm a big, like, even though I was talking about the Logitech and I'm talking about these microphones, I'm very much a proponent of beg, borrow, steal. Work with what you've got. If you want to stream, be a faceless streamer if you can't afford a camera. Use whatever microphone you can. Like, the main thing is get online. But if we're going to be talking about kind of like certain elements of equipment. I think that there is, of course, use what you've got. That's going to be, I think, a general point that we hit, because I think just getting online and doing what you love, essentially playing games and creating a community, is that you don't need, as long as you have a PC or you have something that can output a stream, go live. You know, you don't need bells and whistles as much as you know you may think. But I'm a big proponent of Big Boris Steel. Like, yes, I've been fortunate enough to get a mirrorless camera and then a second camera, but this is built up over time. The first camera I got, I knew, because I didn't have a webcam at the time. I went for the Logitech because I was like, okay, what's the best bang for my buck? And that was it. And usually it is for a first-time streamer. The goalpost may have changed in the past couple of years with new things coming out, but at the time, that was it. My light, up until Christmas, has been a ring light, and a ring light, like a £10 ring light off of Amazon that you'd put your phone into. And then I used to have like a clip-on ring light, which had like a phone holder on it, and it had a bendy neck, and it was like designed for like doing selfies and makeup. For a long time,
TikToks.
That was my setup. Yeah, TikToks, exactly. The mic that I had initially was a £18 mic from Amazon, which was an XLR input, which I eventually gave to my friend and then upgraded to the Yeti. And it was like, I had this idea of what I wanted my stream to be, but it's kind of like dressing for the job you want, not the job you've got. And eventually those things may coalesce if you invest into it, if it's something that you enjoy. Mm-hmm. But it didn't all come at once. And I like the one thing that I could control was a skill that I had, which was things like Photoshop and video editing, where I could make overlays. So I learned as much as I could about OBS to make that a reality. You know, just even if it was still images, creating like a PNG with a hole in it. You make your nice design on Photoshop, or you could use Canva, and then you could just put that in as an image and put your camera behind it. You know, there's loads of different kind of browser sources that you can pull in if you wanted it to be more interactive. Right. And as your community grows and as you get into it, you'll be more likely to want to invest. But even my Stream Deck, which is an invaluable piece of kit for me, because I've got a lot going on the stream, generally like pop-ups and stuff. I didn't even buy that. My in-laws bought me that for Christmas the year before. So, yeah. You know, I would say whatever you've got lying about, there are so many hacks. I hate the word hacks, right? But there are so many different things that you can do to make stream or make video. Like you look at guerrilla filmmaking, like indie filmmaking, you know, there are so many things that you can do to outweigh the cost while still making the stream enjoyable to watch, listen to. And that really starts with obviously the content. But if we're talking about it from a technical point of view, there's a lot of things that you can do, tips and tricks, just as, like I said, lighting. You can go into, we've got Wilco over here, which is like a hardware on the high street. And you can get a strip of LED lighting for I think £9. And you can put that around the back to give you that backwards kind of like that background lighting, which is really nice.
Right.
And like I said, there's loads of ways that you can make the experience a lot nicer for somebody watching it and making it more highly produced stream than it actually is. You can cheat it quite a bit with a lot more accessible features.
You know, we never got Barbaric's opinion on, you know, camera features and lighting. I don't know why that is, but
no idea, man.
Barbaric actually has the nicest camera out of all of us. He just doesn't use it because, you know, he doesn't want to flex.
He's streaming. He's got a like a red camera just set up in the corner.
Watches my dog.
I did see that somebody on LTT was streaming with a red camera. Like, why? What? That's just too much of a flex right there.
Back in the height of the pandemic, I was just watching a lot of the Rooster Teeth podcast, and there's one where Gavin Free decided, you know what? I'm just going to hook up a Phantom. I'm just going to hook up a Phantom through, you know, all these 7 different adapters and plug it in. And it's like, he looked amazing, but it was loud as fuck. And he had like 7 different lights pointed at him because, you know, the exposure is so, it's got to be so particular on those Phantom cameras.
So like, and that's the whole thing in this space is that there's probably such thing as too far.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
you don't have to go there. This really is like, for what it is, it really is a kind of like baller on a budget kind of industry where you don't have to do all the things. There's people like even people who are centered around tech and stuff that is in the tech stream space, like Harris Heller. He doesn't have anything insane. He has really nice gear and he does a lot of reviews on really nice gear, but he doesn't have like the highest video tech that you would expect to see out of Hollywood. That's not where this space is or what this space is about, really, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, it's content creation. Like, yeah, if it looks great, that's good. But I mean, the main thing with Twitch is you want it to be interactive. You want it to be like a two-way conversation between you and your audience. If people wanted to watch, how do I complete this game from A to B? They'd probably go to YouTube. They'd probably watch a tutorial on how to, conquer this goal or do whatever. People come to Twitch to be engaged, to have, friendships and relationships with people who they otherwise wouldn't meet. And yeah, having a good webcam is a tool to do it, but it's not by any means like the only tool or even a necessary tool. Microphone, different story. But yeah, I think the key thing with Twitch is interactivity. That's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it a platform that's interesting to be on.
I mean, even with the microphone, again, it's that baller on a budget. Like, I don't think I would encourage anyone to go out and find, the microphone that Metallica uses for their live shows to use on stream to get into streaming.
I mean, it's certainly not Laz's bloody snare mic.
There's so many cheap options that work very well. And I guess like once you have that, you have the mic and you have the camera and you're kind of happy with the general setup. You guys go through this. I mean, if you really like this space and you enjoy live streaming and you want to make it more than it is, because I think that's a drive that a lot of streamers have that stick with it for a while, is like, I am right here, but I want to be here, and then I want to move here, and I always want to increase it somehow. How do you prioritize in the stream tech space what pieces of equipment you're looking at? Like, what is your thought process, I guess, on the next thing I want to buy for my stream?
I think the age-old audio, light, visual, and peripheral is the kind of the way that I look at it, right? So if I'm going to upgrade something, generally I will look at my audio first if I'd have the money for it. If I think it's at a certain level, then that's fine, right? And moving on. And then I'll think about lighting. Is lighting good? And this goes from I think the very base level would be audio, lighting, visual, peripheral. So audio being the most important, lighting then if you already have a camera, that is being something that I think is, if you don't have one or you want to upgrade it, that'll be something that you can upgrade, because that lighting is going to make that camera look 10 times better. Like the key light is internally diffused. It has an incredible array of LEDs. I was so surprised with how hardy it is. Such a tough rig. Yeah. And the fact that you can control it remotely through something like a Steam Deck or Steam Deck app, you can control its Kelvin, its brightness. And
you have the temperature gradient. Right. There's so much.
On the topic of it being a hardy bit of software, bit of hardware, are we talking about like the physical rugged durability of it? Because a couple of times, right, my cat Ali has jumped into my office, and like my streaming setup is like, it's on a big old desk against the wall, and so what she likes to do is she'll jump up on top of the windowsill, go onto my chest of drawers, go onto my desk, and then sit or stand on the key light. And 2, 3, maybe even 4 times, I've just heard a massive boom in the background, and it's like, what the hell's that? And I come in, and key light is lying face down. I'm like, oh no, she's broken it. Oh, there's gonna be so much to replace. And I pick it up, absolutely fine. No dents on the metal, no issues with the light itself. It is rugged.
Well,
yeah.
That's a good rugged test. I think like the joke I've always said about like Pelican case and rugged test is Pelican insures everything with a lifetime warranty except for natural disasters and children under the age of 2.
Yeah, pets and kids.
Yeah, that's so like a cat using your lamp as a tree to play on. That's a pretty good test of how it does. I mean, it's a great product. I agree with that. It really does, like, and with that, it's so user intuitive. Like, it's so easy because I don't know a lot about lighting. In this whole streaming thing, there's so many hats you have to put on, and you have to learn so many different aspects of production and quality and everything else. Like, some of these products that are almost geared for us make it super intuitive. That Elgato key light's one of them. Like, I installed it, I put it up, and instantly, like, I could toggle one little switch and like, oh, that's what the temperature does. That's how the temperature changes my video, and then I can find the right like complexion for me, because I don't want to look like a ghost, but I don't want to look like I've been on the beach for 3 days straight, right? So like,
what brightness do you have your set to?
mine is actually pretty low.
Yeah, mine is.
Mine's 2 up from the lowest. Any more than that, I look like I'm sitting on the surface of the flipping sun.
I have to quickly move Skag to actually see, because I don't have the button set up. But yeah, I have mine. Yeah, it's pretty low.
Yeah,
it's
fairly
pretty
low.
I don't know if there's a number associated with it, but it's like in the black. So like if I was to turn this up now, that's the brightest, and then that's the lowest.
Yeah.
And so I sit at 11%.
I think I'm a little bit higher than that, but yeah, it has a big range, and it's actually bright, like, for what it is. Well, Danny, what is your mentality on upgrading before I kind of get into like my point on it?
It's difficult to answer that one, because I have, like I said, back, on the previous episode, when my son was born, or just before he was born, I just did a big investment on PC and stream, all that kind of stuff. So like, I have like the setup I have mostly has stayed the same over the past 18 months. So I was trying to think like, now my next purchase is a PS5, which is by no means a requirement for a stream, but it's like, well, I want to play some exclusives, and that's the next like logical step to purchase. In terms of like what you upgrade, I think anything that you think will give you the best value to your viewers, not necessarily to you, like, oh, I want this really cool, nice, shiny new toy, but anything you think will make the biggest impact to people, because when you meet somebody, what do they say? You got like 10 seconds to make a first impression. And I would say, you get a raid or something, you get someone come in onto your stream for the first time. I'd say the amount of time you have to make a good impression is even lower than that. So anything you can do to up the production value, do it. I mean, it's going to be different in every case. Like, some people are going to have, medium tier lighting, but high tier webcams. They might want to they might want to upgrade their lighting, or equally, someone might have a good microphone, but actually, their PC's a bit slow, so they might want to get a PC, a CPU upgrade, or extra stick of RAM or something. There are so many variables. There's no one solution of like, okay, upgrade this, and then this, and then this. It's really kind of user dependent.
Yeah. Damn it, you stole my point.
Sorry.
How you doing?
Sorry. No, I gave you the opening because I figured it might go that way. That's the key for me, is when I go to the upgrade process, my question is, what is the value add? And it's not for me. Now, the next one in my mind that I want is a value add for me, but that's not the driving factor. It gives me control over something that improves the quality for the audience. So, like right now, I got the Elgato Wave because it had amazing audio control software. For some reason, my specific PC, and I'm not going to knock Elgato for this. This is probably 900% user error. My PC does not run the software for the audio control that the Elgato Wave is known for. Drives me bonkers. Every time I load it up, sometimes it'll open and it'll crash. If I get it to open, by the time I open OBS, it crashes. 90% of the time, it just never opens at all. This is a me problem. I know this. But the next thing I want to get is either like a Beacon Mix Create that allows me to control audio sources, or the Beacon mic, which comes with the Mix Create software to control audio sources, which is the microphone and software that Barbaric has. But that opens up my access of control to audio sources. So now I can better control what the audience hears. I'm not blowing out their eardrums. I have better noise gate filter technology. It cleans up the audio. It's not required, but I think for my stream, that's the best value add to where I'm at right now. And I think that's how you should approach these upgrades, is not what's a cool toy to have, but what's the value add. My last upgrade was the Stream Deck. I won it from Reckless during, I think, a subathon or something.
Amazing.
But I kind of was already looking at one because the value add of a Stream Deck to where my stream was, for the dollars to amount of control and assets I can control on the Stream Deck, was huge. That's where my stream was. I had a camera I was happy with. I had clean audio that I was happy with. I wanted to add more features and a way to control those features quickly. That was the value add for the upgrade.
Just think about it, like the last upgrade I've had for stream that isn't like hardware related, in terms of like PC upgrade or whatever, is actually this IKEA shelving behind me. Previously, I was just broadcasting to a blank wall, and like I don't know, I feel like you want your visuals to be something that catchy, something that's interesting. Like I got a where is it? I got a flipping light up unicorn here, sent in by the one we'll know and love. This is an opportunity for me to display things, kind of put up weird signs in the background, or make some kind of meme and stick it, some sort of Easter egg and stick it in the back for someone to find. Like, just a bit of shelving. This actually made a big difference to production value, and it wasn't that expensive, and it wasn't something that somebody would automatically think of like a stream purchase, but it makes a difference.
It's not just in production value, it's community value, right? It's making people feel part of something, because again, you say that was bought for you, but there's a story behind that, and there's
made lovingly by
made. Yeah. Okay. My bad. But made, that's even better. That's awesome. Yeah. But also, there's an attachment there. There's a there's something of value that's the something tangible that somebody has that attachment to, and you have a relation to. And again, it sets something unique apart from yourself. Right. And I think, just mirroring Skag real quick, just piggybacking off of your point. I think at a certain point, we can go around the houses where, stream with what you can, just get live, right? But we can go around that. I think you can end up going around when it comes to tech. But I think there's a quality of life. At a certain point, it becomes a quality of life thing. So like you said about your Stream Deck. Yeah. Like that makes such a difference, having a Stream Deck, or like something where you can control audio source. So I got the Go XLR, which is lovely, by a member of my community. I found it. I'm moving from a USB, because this can do both. This mic can do both. Moving from USB to XLR. XLR is great, but it put it all into one channel. There was a lot that was going on with this, and I underutilized it. So I got it because I thought it would raise my production value, and I had a lot of ideas for it, but it got underutilized. And last episode we were talking about tech. Unfortunately, streaming tech also moves quite quickly. And I think there's been a lot more interest in streamer-centric tech over the past couple of years, especially since COVID, that I think that it has pushed the boundaries of like what you can have. The prices generally got a little bit cheaper, dependent, but also there's a lot more in terms of competition, good and bad, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So as a bit of a sidebar, then, what's your opinion on the Elgato foot pedals? Because that seems to be solving a problem that I think very few people had.
I think it's great for people who play FPSs, and there's like, so I'm gonna have to change my headphones halfway through here. I'll put my point across and I'll do it. I think it's great for people who play things like FPS games or have their hands full. Maybe a musician who wants to push talk doesn't want that feedback. I know a buddy of mine, Carlton the White. I'm not sure if you're aware. Know Carlton the White from the Nightbreed as well, or as Skag likes to call it, Cool Club. He uses the foot pedals and he uses it really well. So he stands, and it's just. I think it's one of those things where you can control your stream. It gives just another outlet. Again, just a quality of life thing. I think there's a lot of instances where a foot pedal could become handy.
Maybe you raises a good point here about accessibility, which is something I hadn't really thought of.
That as well, yeah. So there's. I think it's a great product. Is it for everyone? No way. But I don't think any singular product is for everyone necessarily. You know,
Right.
Some people do fine without a Stream Deck. I feel like if we're talking about things that I can live without, aside from the basic camera, light, microphone, or that kind of trifecta, right? The Stream Deck is probably something that I can live without.
Because worst case scenario, you can set up some like OBS hotkeys
but just what it does and how it works and how it's integrated makes a huge amount of difference.
And all the plugins as well, like the interconnectivity you have with other services and devices is very, very cool.
Yeah. It allows you to control so much that helps the production. I mean, Danny pulled out a point about his last upgrade was the bookcase, which when you're talking about audio, that bookcase can help with a lot of like audio dampening, stuff like that. If you guys don't really know, you fill the bookcase, it deflects audio coming straight back off of a flat surface. It's not as good as like, let's say, tiling or rugging, but it is a cheap fix. Me, I don't have space. I'm literally 2 inches from my background. I don't have that option, but I think if you're going into like anything and everything, production quality and like what's the value add, Court started a joke out of nowhere and all of a sudden it became a thing. So I guess technically my last like stream upgrade purchase was 500 rubber ducks. And like, it's not tech, it's not fancy. It wasn't super expensive, but it wasn't free, but like it adds this whole dynamic into like the smallest little things that you can come up with can turn into a massive thing. And Danny was talking about, like, I think my next upgrade, I want a PS5. It gives you access to more content, which gives you access to more communities. That's a very realistic tech upgrade in our space. Anytime you increase what you have access to content wise, it's a big deal. I guess like around the horn, what's the like, I don't know, what's the advice? What's the takeaway you would hope someone would get out of this whole conversation about shopping for tech and getting into streaming?
I mean, one thing I'd say is don't blow a budget that you don't have, for one thing. Like, we've said many times throughout this conversation, like getting your hands on something that's dedicated for its purpose. So, a dedicated microphone rather than a headset microphone, that's great. And it'll do you proud. But if you only have a headset mic, you don't need to rush out and buy like a hardware separate microphone. Make the best of what you have. If you want to shop around a bit, if you want to, as a new person to a streaming platform, if you want to like up the ante a little bit, check out secondhand marketplaces. eBay and Facebook marketplace. If you're a boomer like me, like getting things used very often in terms of tech, it's still going to be in good functional quality. So you don't need to like invest hundreds and hundreds and hundreds just to start streaming. Because a lot of people, people have short attention spans. People like to go, I'm going to get fully immersed in this hobby, and then 3 weeks later, it's gone. Like that interest is all that love, or it's disappeared, or the platform isn't quite how they expect it to be, and they kind of fall out of love with it. So you don't want to spend loads of money just to go and have things sit in a corner in a few weeks' time, just gathering dust.
Yeah. Court, any takeaways in the search for tech?
All of the above. Because I agree wholeheartedly with Danny. I think he's echoing a lot of what we're kind of all talking about. I would say do your research and sleep on it. The two hardest things to do when you see something shiny, says the man
I want it now, though.
Who's just bought a Netric drum kit.
Don't make any purchase decisions on payday.
Yeah.
But I want it now, though.
Especially to begin with, because... I think gone are the days of the lockdown bright eyes, because we're now into another kind of we're now into a new realm of streaming where I don't know why I keep doing this with my hands, but
I don't know what to do with my hands.
we're into a new realm of streaming where there's less streamers, there's less people about the ecosystem of Twitch, YouTube streaming. A lot more people are aware of it now, which is always good. But there's always going to be a shiny new product. I think most likely streamer products are going to slow down.
Probably.
But I think, like myself with the Go XLR, it was something I wanted for a long time. And by the time I got it, I think it was slightly out of date because new products have come out, like the Wave, like the Stream Deck Plus. There's smaller components that don't take up half your desk, and there's mics that have just great inbuilt software even for USBs, right? That's just my example, but it can go for cameras, it can go for lighting, it can go for the foot pedals, or it can go for whatever. There's always going to be a shiny new product that you're going to want to get. Research it, ask yourself, is this really, is this going to do what I think it's going to do? And then sleep on it. Because, there's so much stuff out there that is shiny and I want. But do I need it? Probably not. Will it affect content? Probably not the way that I think it's going to. And I learned that probably the hard way. But that's to echo all of Danny's points.
I mean, you're always optimistic about like the outcome of how it's gonna go, right? Like
100%.
I think I can do X, Y, and Z with this. I know I can make this stuff happen with this thing, and it never comes to fruition. You probably get like somewhere between 33 to 60% out of what you plan out of a piece of equipment from my thing. I think my big piece of advice is this whole streaming game, like I said earlier, is a game in which you don't understand what you have to learn until you start doing it. So take it one piece at a time. Don't go out and go to your favorite streamer's page and say, this is the kit that he has. This is everything he has for his streaming rig, and buy that. Don't do it. Start small. Start with your mic. Hit go live. Figure out your audio. Then figure out the next step, the video. If you want to go video, or the VTube, or one piece at a time, research and compare options on a value to dollar amount basis. Because the nicest camera on the market, which I think like Sony's into like the A7000s now or something like that, but you can go with that high-end camera, but this one that's made for vlogging that's under $1,000 will do the same thing, and the webcam might do the same thing. So like learn what's required of the audio or the lighting, do research on how those effects happen, and then get that one piece. And then get the next piece, just one piece at a time, right?
I'm always weary about anything that says like streamer or like pro, because
or
so
gamer.
I was so interested in that because like Sony came out with this camera that I have, and they said it's for vlogging. That is the focus as to why they made it. And I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? What the hell does that mean? And like I started watching reviews, I started like looking into it and like getting all the things. And what they really meant is it has kind of the features that are based around people who walk around staring at a camera. So, it has really good like motion blur help and like stabilization, and like it has a good attachment for the like wind microphones, and like so it's made for vlogging, but it's at the end of the day it's a lower end mirrorless camera that works well. So like, yeah, it's made for vlogging, but it's just a camera that has good modernized features.
Some of those vlogging cameras don't even have like 180 flip screens. So like the A6000 that I've got, it will pivot like that on one axis. But if I wanted to see myself, if I wanted to frame myself by having the flip, it doesn't have that, which honestly,
how is that?
Because you want interesting.
If you're looking at yourself and you're walking around with a camera, I had this with the G7X. That was a great camera. You want to be able to frame yourself, otherwise you don't know what that frame of reference is. So having that, like, if you're saying it's a streamer, vlogging camera, the hardest thing is to frame yourself. You always kind of like take a picture or press record and like get into frame and then check it again. Whereas the flip up screen just means that you can look at it. Right, I'm framed. You know, and that's just such a small detail. But you'd be surprised how many vlogging cameras don't have that.
Yeah, this one has it. Just if you're wondering, curious, I don't. But yeah, it's
the 600. I had the 600D. Like that is a camera from like the early 2010s, and they
like,
had flip out screens.
And companies go back and forth on where they put these like upgrades or change the like. It's so weird, but yeah, just do your research one piece at a time. And like, ideally, if you're lucky enough to hit affiliate quickly and you actually want to dig into it, use your stream money as the upgrade. That way you don't have to like rely on your normal income or whatever you're doing. Put the stream money back into the stream. That way it gives you a pool to build up for these purchases, and it kind of plays off of Court's like sleep on it, because if you're trying to focus and the stream money is for the stream, you're kind of limited by that as far as progress. Like, I'm not going to say that's like a hard, fast rule. I use my stream money for that, but that's not where all my upgrades come from. But it's a way to kind of sleep on it, so to speak, and develop slower and do the research so that you learn what you have to learn before you make the purchase and develop that content. Yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly. And also, just stay off streamer Twitter. It's a bonfire.
Oh, dude, if you're a streamer and you post anything on Twitter, you get followed by about 20 fake graphic design artists who just, it saddens me.
I don't twit.
I also don't tweet. No. But hey, it's okay, because those people are going to find you on Discord. They're going to find you when you're live.
It's happened.
Look,
yeah.
Those people that are trying to sell followers, graphics, art, they're going to find you. And don't buy into it. What's the value add? Go back to the question.
Make a funny band scene and move on.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you had a good time. It's been fun, guys. I do enjoy doing these things. If you're out there,
me back.
Of course. Of course. We'll talk in the future. Maybe you'll come back again.
Yeah,
perhaps.
In a disguise.
Right.
In a blobby suit.
In a crab
suit.
God.
Oh no. We don't need to wear any suits. It just makes everything, well, it's...
I mean, I don't know. I think that there's value in a podcast where we're all wearing a different outfit.
I mean, it is a podcast. Like, not everyone's going to pay attention to what we're wearing or anything anyway.
No, you take a screen capture and put that as your video background or your podcast background.
Yeah. It's a vibe. That's what they're living, is the vibes of us being in the suits.
Create an environment, a fun one that you can play around with random lore.
I don't know. Someone needs to take on more of a contrarian standpoint, though. We're way too amenable, like agreeing.
Yeah, this is an echo chamber right now. We need.
Yeah, it really is. But I think it highlights the kind of like we've all been in the space a minute now, and we all kind of have the same.
You want contrarian? Don't get a camera.
Wait, one second. No, I've got something to say about that.
And now the fight happens.
Yeah, we need spice.
Oh, but I mean, these are subjects that I think there's not a lot of contrarian points, because like they're just kind of basic things where everyone wants to upgrade, but there's a lot of, weighing the value, and everything feels very nice to have. When it's easy to say, like, you have to buy the best gear now, but that's not going to get you the viewers you want. That's not going to get you where you want to go. You can spend all the money in the world, unless you're, like buying followers. But even then, you're just like creating a fake system. But you can spend all the money in the world on whatever tech you want. It doesn't guarantee someone walks through the door and stays.
I've spent so much on stream, and I think I've always thought, this thing's gonna blow up once I got this. And it's expectation versus reality. You are humbled quick, and so is your pocket.
There's always like, oh, the next thing, like the next little milestone. You know, first it's like, oh, I want to get affiliate. Then it's, oh, I want to have 5 concurrent viewers, 10 concurrent viewers, 15 concurrent viewers. And it's like, it's always moving. I don't think any of us are probably satisfied 100% with how things are going. And like, oh yeah, I've reached the pinnacle of my streaming career. No, I think we all want to progress. And that's probably a good thing to have that drive to improve.
Right.
I think the most attainable thing though is, out of all of them, the one thing you do have control over is what kit you have, and that's why you can be so kit focused.
Right. Because I can control my camera.
It's the one thing that you can control growth on, and one thing that you can feel like you're growing in, even if those other variables aren't.
That makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, I can have all the best gear. I can control when I get that. I can move forward with gear. Doesn't guarantee all the other metrics move, but
yeah.
I control that one thing. You're not wrong. Not wrong.
But that's also another reason why it's important to not overinvest initially, because you know you may get disheartened with growth or lack thereof, and yeah, it's just a shame to waste money like that.
True. It's been lovely. We'd love to hear your thoughts, any takes. What do you think about what we were talking about, and what's your next upgrade? And have we changed your mind on how you're approaching that next upgrade? Let us know down in the comments. We'll catch you hopefully next week. I'm sure it will be. We'll catch you next time. Everyone have a good one.